So in this video, I just want to be going through how I repaint all of these little props for the dioramas that I use for stop motion videos. There is a handful of little props that I use and I've already started repainting. Like for instance, this barrel here, this was the base color it came with, and I have two of those and I've repainted it to give it a bit more of a dark wash to it, and it brings out a lot more of those wood grains, and I just think it overall looks a lot better that way. So I'll be teaching you how I'm going to be doing that. And I also have other props like this garbage can here. I'm pretty sure this can was some, like, I think WWE wrestler. I want to be giving it a black paint job. And then once that's dry, I'm going to be going over top of it with silver dry brushing and other painting techniques to try and make it look a bit more realistic. So with all that being said, I think it's time to jump into repainting some of these props. So the first prop I want to go through is going to be this barrel here, and I'm going to show you how I basically just recolor the look of the barrel. It's fairly simple. All I do is I'll use brown acrylic paint and I'll water it down a bit, and then once the paint is a little watered down, you'll put the brush strokes over the grain and it'll kind of like seep into the wood. And I also have paper towel handy and I kind of wipe away or dab away at some of the excess paint. So this is the mess I'm going to be going through and repainting. Like I said, you can see they have a bit more of that kind of natural wooden look to them, and with these I want to be giving them that brown wash to make them look a bit more realistic. I'm going through all of my previously used diorama stuff and repainting them to just kind of update them and update all of my sets in general for stop motions. I also have all of this stuff as well that I'm going to be going through. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get into talking about them in this video, but I will be going through some of the different techniques I use with different props. And like I've said, I already have some existing props that I'm going to be repainting. This has the main black base coat that I'm going to be using for an electrical box, and I'm going to be dry brushing this silver. And I've recently been using the sponge brush as well, which is really cool to add different details. So I'll be showing you how I use that as well. Okay, so this is kind of how everything's looking so far. I guess it depends on your own personal preference on how dark you really want the wood to look. With some of them, like this chair here, I added a bit more brown paint just because on some of the props I added little cross hatching, which I kind of want to steer away from. I want my props to look more realistic over kind of comic book inspired. You can see it that there's still some Sharpie showing through on the dresser there. But overall, I do prefer the look of like the dyed brown kind of stained wood look to it. There's probably a couple little touch-ups I can still do for these, but that's basically the main part of what I've been doing with the wood stuff here is just brown acrylic paint, watered down, and then just kind of smeared all over the main prop. So what I want to do now is I want to show you what I'm going to be doing when it comes to dry brushing silver onto some of these different props. With the garbage can here, I'm going to paint this all black first. Once that's dried, I'm going to jump into doing some dry brushing. Okay, so I got a real big mess going on here. Everything is kind of painted a little sloppily, but that is because it is not finished yet. I just kind of threw the base coat of black on everything. This little fire escape looks real bad right now, but again, I kind of just sloppily put a bunch of black paint on there because there's going to be dry brush with silver afterwards. A lot of the brown stuff is going to be dry brush with lighter brown over top of it. So right now, just kind of waiting for everything to dry. Because of the plastic on some of these props, I had to hit them with a matte clear coat. So now when I'm going to paint over them, hopefully the paint should stick a lot more. Previously, you can see some of the paint was chipped off, but I just put the clear coat over top of what I've already done, and I'm just going to paint over top of it. And again, I'm going to hit that with some silver, and I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so I'm going to show you quickly something that's not on time lapse so you can kind of get a better understanding of what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do right now is probably just make some lighter brown paint here. For the most part, I just use this Deco Art acrylic paint I get from the dollar store. It's fairly cheap paint, but it seems to work for me, so not too bad. Mix that up here. And I usually just wipe the excess off back onto the poster board that I am using. I think it's time to retire this poster board. I originally had the thought process of the poster board will become its own kind of piece of art over the years of me painting on it, and I think I've accomplished that goal. So what I'm doing is just kind of lightly...
Bruh, retire from YouTube. Your paintbrush keeps hitting your camera and it sounds like shit.
These wood grains on this log here. And I'm trying my best not to do that. I want it just to be on the top layer and not go into the actual grains because I want the black paint that was put between the cracks to stay in that place. And even after this, I will probably go over top of it again with different shades of brown and whatnot. Here we can probably add a bit more paint just because of how the tree is cut on the inside. It has that lighter color. It's kind of looking something like that. Again, I probably We'll repaint that a bit more off screen, but that's just to kind of get a look at what I'm doing. And then with this I'll probably ever so lightly go through. I usually will put some, I guess, more paint near the bottom and drag it upwards like this. Okay, so once it's more or less finished, this is kind of the vibe I got going on here. I do think it looks better overall. Got different kind of wood coloring in there. I've also been kind of adding a bit more of the lighter color, kind of like in the center and on the bottom there. But I'm also going to add some graffiti to this, and then maybe some different pieces of paper and different caution signs or something like that. And another big tool I've been using a lot lately is the sponge brush. I've been kind of able to get different textures onto the props, and I'm going to show you how I've been doing that onto the dumpster here. And I'm just adding a little bit of brown to kind of give a little bit of a rusty look to it. And again, I use a very light amount of paint on there just because I don't want the brown to be too overpowering, but I want to give that illusion that it's been kind of used. A little bit on the inside, but I am, I think, content with the amount of brown that is on there. I don't want to overpower it, and I have done this same technique to the dumpster already, just kind of adding it onto the corners and different vibe like that. Not the best angle to show off the dumpster, but, and for this fire escape as well, I've just been kind of mainly getting the corners with most paint and kind of lightly dragging it across to kind of give that look that is made of metal. So I'll probably be hitting that a couple more times with silver. This is not really the best angle to be showing this off either. But I'll do some more of that work off screen, and then I'll show you some of the graffiti I want to add to the dumpster and the little garbage can here. I have added graffiti all over this bench here, and a lot of it is kind of just scribbles. I just wanted the aesthetic to look like this bench has just been straight up vandalized for a while now, and I think that kind of gets across with the bench there. So yeah, I'm going to jump into that right now. Okay, so the main painting is now done, and I'm going to show you how I do the graffiti onto different props. What I've been using is these kind of paint pen from Sharpie to Sharpie Slaps. I really enjoy the white one. A lot of graffiti is usually in white. Um, the only thing I kind of stall with graffiti is what to actually put. I can't just keep putting bruh on everything. So I would recommend going on Google and seeing different graffiti that you could kind of mimic or just take inspiration from. I'm gonna put dog. Not very original, but there it is. And what I usually do after is I kind of put a little bit of kind of dots everywhere and make it look uneven. And I do a little bit of running paint. And it kind of looks something like that when it's done. Again, not very original, but I'm probably going to go on Google now and look at some inspiration. I also noticed there's a bunch of like random stuff like that. See, that looks better than this, I feel. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know, a bunch of scribbles, but I feel it looks better. So I'm probably gonna put that around the whole dumpster. I'll use different colored pens, like black, and there's pink here. And we'll put well, that's terrible. So guess what? Bunch of scribbles. More scribbles over here. Wow, look at all those scribbles. But from a distance, it almost looks like something. Dog. So I am going to do that for the dumpster as well, and throw in a little trash bag in there. Oh, that's so peak, bruh. So I am going to, yeah, maybe time lapse what I'm gonna do on the dumpster, but I need my phone to see stuff on Google. We'll see. Excuse me. Do not add this burp. I'm gonna add the burp. It's too late. It's too late. Sorry, it's in the video. Excuse me, bruh. Something I've also been doing with this dumpster is with very watered down black paint. I've kind of just been putting it at the top here and letting it kind of run down. Makes the dumpster kind of look a bit more slimy, grimy, kind of sitting in the back of an alley kind of vibe. But a bunch of random graffiti kind of vibe. I kind of enjoy how it's looking. Pretty dope. So right now I'm just making extra little props with the air dry clay right now, and just kind of making different street signs that I'm going to be making. And with the craft sticks, I'm going to glue that on there, and then I'm going to paint them up afterwards, which I think is kind of cool to have different props to kind of help the atmosphere of the dioramas a bit more. I had these two little stone pillars for like the parking kind of area. And once they're all dried up, obviously I'm gonna paint them, gonna dry brush them and kind of make them look a bit more rusty. Probably gonna glue on some moss, kind of like growing its way up the posts and whatever it may be, but that's kind of what I am sticking to right now. Okay, so everything has been painted up now, so I'm gonna be giving you a closer look at all the different props that I just repainted and redone here. You can see this is the dumpster. Now there's other people that have probably made a more realistic looking dumpster, but I'd say this is definitely an improvement over my previous one. And to get this kind of graffiti look, I dead ass was just kind of scribbling, and it kind of gives the illusion that there is graffiti being done on the top of the dumpster as well. And even added the little caution stickers on the dumpster there. Throw that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Throw that in the back there. Here is one of the benches. And again, what is going on upstairs, bro? And again, has a brown wash on the bench and the same kind of scribbled graffiti look all over it. It's very dope. We have that brown palette here. Just throw that back there, sure. It's a closer look at that repainted fence. Again, I prefer this more realistic look. I might add graffiti to it a bit later. Right now, we'll throw it nowhere. I got ain't no one getting out of that door. I also made these little posts. They are supposed to be like those posts to stop cars from like running into the buildings or whatever it may be. They were just cylinder pieces of air dry clay that I rolled up and painted and did the graffiti all over them. You can see I did a gray base coat first and then painted yellow over top of them, just so it kind of gives that the aesthetic that the paint has been actually chipping away and cracking away. It just fell over. Bruh. These are how the bricks turned out looking. Again, they were just little pieces of clay shaped to look like the bricks. I added the little textures. This camera hates focusing on what I'm showing. There is has the brown and red kind of brick color. Oh my lord, bruh. And then the gray kind of outlining it to make it look more like a brick. And then the same vibe here with the cinder block. Kind of got the darker gray base coat and then the lighter gray kind of dry brushed over top of it, which kind of looks dope. This is how the fences turned out. Got the regular brown one and the one that's covered in graffiti. Here is one of those crates that again I covered in graffiti after the brown wash. Eventually I'm going to get to remaking a warehouse, so that's where I'll throw all the crates in. These ones are pretty dope. I enjoy how the signs turned out. Here's the stop sign there. Had some of the moss kind of growing on it. I'll stand up there, and I made them kind of individual posts so I could pick them up and move them whenever I want to, depending on the scene. Here's the speed limit one. And then we got this turning sign. And something I did with this one is I added the illusion that there's stickers kind of been thrown onto the sign, like kids or teenagers have just kind of been vandalizing the area, so I think those look super dope. It'd be cool if I could find maybe a sticker sheet to just have the actual stickers look a bit more crisp, but for right now, that's kind of the vibe I got. We got that sheet of fence here that was dry brushed with silver and brown to kind of make it look a little rusty. There was that wooden log, which again was just kind of dry brushed with the different shades. Maybe one day it'll focus on it. Yeah, moving around in it. And this is the chair, which was already a previous prop, just repainted. And for the final prop here that I repainted for this video, it is that trash can here, which was given the flat black base coat first, then dry brush with silver and brown, and once that dried up, I added the graffiti all over it, which again, it kind of looks like graffiti, but for the most part, it's just kind of squiggles, and then different color squiggles over top of it to just kind of give it that aesthetic that it is actually graffiti. So with all those repainted props and some of the newer props I got, like these little boxes and little Dorito bags and little just cans used for garbage, kind of put all over the dio. I'm totally trying to upgrade all of my displays and dioramas to obviously have an overall more what's the word I'm looking for? Well, an overall more realistic vibe, and I put a lot more care into my dios and props now, and moving forward I want to keep this aesthetic going because I really enjoy how this looks, and I'm very excited to use all these props and this dio specifically in some of my newer stop motion videos to come. So I am very excited, and I hope you enjoyed watching. If you have any recommendations for props I should make, or if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below and I'll try my best to get to them. So I think that's gonna be all for this video, and thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, bro. Thanks for watching.